Okay, the judge has just sentenced Michael Cohen to 36 months in prison, so 3 years of federal prison time for Michael Cohen. The sentencing is still going underway. You see some of the attorneys coming out now. Here he is. Let's see if he speaks. There you see Michael Cohen getting into the black car with his wife, his son, and his daughter and driving off, choosing not to speak. That in and of itself, a big development in the sense that for years, Michael Cohen threw punches for Donald Trump. There's no other way to put it.
Oh yeah,
he tried to spin stories for Donald Trump. If you wrote things or said things about the businessman, even before he was in politics, then the candidate, and even the president in the early months of the Trump administration, Michael Cohen would, I don't say this in a bad way, get in your face. He was a sharply loyal counterpuncher and sometimes puncher. Prosecutors speak, Michael Cohen speaks, the judge speaks. Kara, take us inside that courtroom. A lot of drama today.
Oh, John, it was so emotional inside the courtroom today. We had Michael Cohen speaking, coming into tears when he was saying it broke his heart that the shame and the pain he's brought onto his family by committing these crimes. His family members were all very emotional. He was surrounded by friends and family. His daughter was sitting right behind him, his wife, son, his mother, father, in-laws, cousins. They all came over after the sentencing, which seemed like an absolute shock to them. You could hear some sobbing in the courtroom as he was told he was going to have 36 months, 3 years in prison. And they came over and they all hugged him. There was a lot of intense embraces, long embraces, handshakes. Everyone looked very shocked, I'd say. I think they were expecting him to have a much lighter sentence, if not any time at all, John.
A dramatic inside the courtroom, Kara. Appreciate that insight from straight inside. The emotions playing out, as Kara notes. And the question now is Michael Cohen's facing 3 years in prison. Michael Cohen can try to reduce that by cooperating further, both on his own personal financial crimes, and B, we know the special counsel, among the Office of Special Counsel, among the things they're looking into is Michael Cohen now says he was lying, and by extension, Donald Trump was lying, and everyone in the Trump organization and Trump campaign was lying about how late into the campaign year of 2016 were they in negotiations or at least contact with Russians about the possibility of a Trump Tower Moscow. I want to come back to the campaign finance violations, and Jennifer Rogers, I hope you're still with us in New York. The president says things. I assume the president's lawyers cringe when he gives media interviews. Evan Paris was just making the case, and I get this. The president could say, I didn't want to embarrass my wife. I didn't want to embarrass my family. We decided whether these affairs happened or not. We decided to pay off these women to keep them silent to protect my family. It's the timing that makes it so interesting because the affairs happened years ago. The payments were made in the middle of the presidential campaign. The president of the United States said this to Reuters yesterday in an interview. Michael Cohen is a lawyer. I assumed he would know what he's doing. You rely on somebody. Hey, he was a lawyer. Number one, it wasn't a campaign contribution. If it were, it's only civil. And even if it's only civil, there was no violation based on what we did. Based on what we did. The president of the United States right there is saying he was part of these payments with Michael Cohen. The president doesn't get to decide, nor do I think he has a full understanding of what's civil, what's criminal, what's misdemeanor, what's felony. If you were his attorney, I assume that would make you bang something. Let me just put it that way.
That's right. He's in a lot of trouble here. I mean, and he's admitted it. Rudy Giuliani has admitted it. It doesn't have to be that it's just the purpose of influencing the campaign. It can be a dual purpose. It can be that he wanted to cover it up for his wife and embarrassment in his family. And it can be that it was right in the heat of the last few weeks of the campaign and he needed to shut these women up. And if that is one of the purposes, then he's guilty of that violation. And, you can point to the John Edwards case all you want. That was a different set of facts. And this issue as to what the purpose of the campaign contribution was is an issue of fact. It is for the jury to decide. It is not something that can be determined before charges are brought or dismissed on a motion to dismiss on a legal basis in front of a judge. It's an issue of fact. And if prosecutors are able to bring that case, whether now or in 2021 or at some point, that's where it will be decided in the courtroom with the jury.
And we'll see how they proceed there. Here's another one of these only in Washington moments about the cast of characters involved here. You saw Michael Avenatti a few moments ago. Mr. Cohen is represented by Lanny Davis, who was also one of Bill Clinton's attorneys back when they were fighting impeachment back in the day. I covered the White House in those days. Lanny Davis has now issued a statement on behalf of Michael Cohen. He says, Michael has owned up to his mistakes and fully cooperated with Special Counsel Mueller in his investigation over possible Trump campaign collusion with Russian meddling in the 2016 election. While Mr. Mueller gave Michael significant credit for cooperation on the core issues, it is unfortunate that Southern District of New York prosecutors did not do the same. To me, their judgment showed a lack of appropriate proportionality. That from Lanny Davis. He goes on in this statement to saying, I look forward to assisting Michael to state publicly, when the investigation is over, I look forward to assisting Michael to state publicly all he knows about Mr. Trump. And that includes any appropriate congressional committee testimony in any committee interested in a search for the truth. So A, this is not over. B, Lanny Davis is saying Michael Cohen has more.